There have been a lot of big earthquakes lately. Are they related? The answer isn't quite as easy as just yes or no. Some of them are, and some of them aren't. So here is a map showing the locations of earthquakes that have occurred in 2025 that are magnitude 7 or larger. Most of them are located around the Pacific Plate. This is not unusual or unexpected because the majority of the world's earthquakes, up to 90% of them, are located in this circum-Pacific region. So are these earthquakes related to each other? Some of them are. The quakes off the Kamchatka Peninsula, Russia, are all part of an earthquake sequence. There was a magnitude 7.4 there in July, and it was a foreshock to a magnitude 8.8 that happened a little more than a week later. And there have been thousands of aftershocks to that event, including a magnitude 7.4 and a magnitude 7.8. Now, this is normal and expected. Earthquakes of that size will generate aftershock sequences that can last for years, and they'll usually have about one or even more aftershocks that are about an order of magnitude smaller than the main shock. So for an 8.8, we would expect to see earthquakes of 7.6, 7.7, or 7.8. Those are totally normal aftershock sizes. So what about the earthquakes in the Drake Passage? The two that are close together are probably related. When an earthquake occurs, it changes the stresses in the surrounding rock, making earthquakes in some locations more likely by increasing the stress and making earthquakes in other locations less likely by decreasing the stress. But those changes only impact regions that are pretty close to the fault. So the rest of the earthquakes around the world are all too far away from each other to be related. Now, sometimes a large earthquake can trigger earthquakes that are far away. This is called dynamic triggering, and it happens as a result of the seismic waves from the big earthquake passing along a fault that is already close to failure, and it kind of pushes that fault over the edge. But it's time dependent, and it almost always happens within seconds, minutes, or hours of the seismic waves passing. So finally, are we having more earthquakes than usual? No. There is natural variability in the system, and some years we're going to have more earthquakes than other years, and that's like totally normal. But the overall rate of earthquakes is steady through time. So this chart down here shows the number of earthquakes of different magnitudes over the last few years, so that you can compare how this year falls, compared to other years. So remember, when it comes to earthquakes, don't be scared, be prepared. Don't be scared, be prepared. Don't be scared, be prepared. Sooner or later, I've got to come up with a new tagline, you guys.